That was almost all right, apart from that last little vamp.
It was beautiful.
Thank you, Ross. Hello, everyone. Jack here from Peach Guitars. Very warm welcome back to Mr. Ross Bailey in person. Last time we spoke to Ross, it was over the horrible medium of Zoom, and lots of things went wrong.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And exactly, it was forgettable for pretty much everyone involved and everyone watching. So we're back now with a much more memorable occasion.
Yes, back in the room.
Welcome back, Ross. It's very good to see you.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're doing something today, not only physically in person, but we're actually got physical air moving as well, which makes a nice change. A lot of the cool Line 6 stuff that we get to cover is obviously in the digital realm, so not a whole lot of air movement usually takes place. But Ross told me that there's a new amp coming out, and I think your words when you first told me about this, the Catalyst, was that actually no one quite knows what it's intended to be just yet, because it's kind of a little bit of an enigma, something that you've never really done before in terms of its value and in terms of its function.
Yes.
So hopefully that doesn't set you up for too much of a fall, but maybe just outline very briefly what the Catalyst is about and what it's intending to do.
It really is just kind of a going after a regular amp vibe. So, you know, it wouldn't be us if we didn't have options, but it's two channels. So it's channel A and channel B. You have 6 amp models to choose from, right, and you tell channel A or B what you want them to be. So like we were saying earlier, if you like a particular single amp model and go, yeah, well, that does everything I need it to do, then channel A and B can be that amp model with different gain structures or different EQ settings. Mm-hmm. But the good thing is each amp model is really versatile.
Yeah.
So the EQ's mega powerful, different kind of gain levels, and you just get a ton of different stuff out of it. So yes, you have options, but the actual bare bones of the amp is really simple.
So you can just plug straight into it, which incidentally
Absolutely.
we are doing. There's some stuff on the floor here that you'll see, including an analog pedal, a foot switch that's an optional foot switch, is it, with the amp?
It's an optional foot switch, and that just gives you channel A or B and turns the effects on and off. You know, there are built-in effects. Okay. Delays and modulations and pitches and stuff like that, but
which you will hear. So all of that stuff is very basic, and then we have got also the HX Stomp XL, which Ross is very clever. So he's configured this to be just a MIDI switch, just a controller for the amp. No signal is going to or from that at all.
Nope.
It's just turning things on and off.
It's using a spaceship to go and get a pint of milk.
Indeed.
Just acting as a MIDI controller. Yeah, like Jack said, no sound going in or out.
Okay, so at the start, I mean, I purposefully have not played with this at all. We just plugged it in, made sure it works, which of course it does, and got a sound, and that's it. You know a lot more about this than I do, so I will let you sort of guide the way here in terms of the different sounds, but I wanted to try and put across just how amp-like this does sound. We've got a 57 on it. We're also taking a feed out of the back of the amp, so you'll probably hear a mixture of the two. So it's just really, really nice workflow if you are just a plug and play kind of guy, or if you do want to get a little bit more nutty and involved, you can do both at the same time, which I really like. And I do think this particular clean, which you said, not to quote you here, but you said it's kind of based around one particular Helix model.
No, so the effects...
Good thing I didn't quote you here, isn't it?
Yes, marvellous. So the effects are basically taken from Helix, and we have used the HX modelling process, but our sound design team have created 6 brand new amps. So it's not something that you've heard before or seen. They're totally new amps for Catalyst, and they're not specifically based on anything. So we're not modelling any particular amp. There's definitely the soul and vibe of kind of what you would expect out of certain amps, but they're highly tweaked, much more versatile. Like I say, the EQ is mega powerful. Gain structures are improved and increased and made more. So yeah, there's a lot more scope with the amp models in there, but yeah, they're not strictly we're trying to make this sound like a X amp.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, it's familiar sounds but highly tweaked, and they all sound great.
Okay, so the sound number 1 then. So what are we on right now? Just
so
clean?
this is just called
clean.
Clean.
Okay. let's just hear that a little bit more, and then we'll play around with what's capable via the foot switch. Really nice clean.
Yeah.
And really distinctly nice reverb as well. So is there a choice of different types?
Yes, you've got your halls and plates, shimmers and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a simple guy, so it's just a bit of spring.
Yeah, that works for me as well. And that's got a really nice tail to it.
Yeah, you can change the type of reverb on the amp, but there is an editor for this as well, and that's where you can get in and do deep editing parameters, do the dwell. With the effects, you can actually have them pre or post as well. So
Okay.
if you like the sound of reverb in front of a slightly or heavily distorted amp, same with delay, then you can do that too.
Yeah, and it very much depends on the type of clean that you like and the way that you use a clean sound, but everyone talks about like the breakup tones being the giveaway usually with modeling and, you know, less than valve amps. That's usually, to me, it's about the clean, because if it can't do a good three-dimensional clean, you struggle from that point upwards. And actually, just being in the room with this thing, that sounds more three-dimensional than a lot of other amps at that price bracket. Probably even more so, I would say, until you really get it wound up. We're not particularly loud here. Maybe can we push a little bit more?
Oh yeah.
Why not? Just to see how it kind of comes alive, just with a clean sound.
So I've got the gain kind of quite high up
Okay.
on that. Just so, yeah, when you dig in, and it's not dirty by any stretch, but yeah, it just gives a little bit of...
Works very well for me,
Yeah.
personally
Yeah.
speaking.
I think that's a sound a lot of people go for as well. It's like not super clean.
Yeah.
Just like right on the edge.
Well, putting the humbucker on there sounds great. Just It's got a little bit of fur to it, but it's compressing in the way a valve amp would. And I know that the intention is not to make this a valve replication entirely, but that is kind of what most people want most of the time. So
yeah.
even though it's got its own character, it's still... You can call on it for valve type tones if that's what you want.
Well, I think certainly for people like me and you, we're used to valve amps, and we both bridge the gap between valve amps and the modeling world as well. But yeah, there is that something that valve amps give with the feel, which obviously modelers manage to do now. Yeah. But that amp in the room thing, it's a different vibe, and yeah, this is going to appeal to people that want that, as well as they want the versatility of modeling. The simplicity of a valve amp, but some versatility as well. So it's good.
Indeed, and obviously the other point of bridging the gap is when you start to implement analog drive pedals. Yeah,
so that was we've talked at length about pedals. Yeah, I'm a big pedal guy, and a good amp for me has to be able to take pedals well, and normally digital amps struggle with that. So if you've got anything with any kind of output, it clips the front end and it doesn't sound pleasing.
No.
This takes pedals brilliantly, and I kind of chose this particular pedal just because of the circuit and what it's based on. It's very fussy.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't sound great through many amps. So if this can make it sound good, then we're on a winner.
Quite the litmus test. All right,
let's do it.
Let's see what it's like. Just by the way, guitar's straight into that pedal, and that's straight into the amp. first of all, ow. That gets loud.
Yeah.
What a great sound.
Oh, yeah.
Thick.
Thick, beefy, but still clear.
Yeah, super clear. So just a 1x12 in there.
Yes.
It is a proprietary speaker for this
Yeah,
amp,
custom
you said.
designed, yeah.
What a sound though. Like if that's what you want, just a really nice clean, and you've got a pedal that you love, that responds legitimately better than a lot of amps out there. I don't know this pedal really, but I think if you can understand a pedal you don't know very quickly, then that's the amp doing its thing.
Yeah, and I've tried it with a bunch of different pedals. I've tried Tube Screamers and Prince of Tones and all sorts, and yeah, it takes them really, really well.
That's very nice indeed. So,
but we do have a built-in boost for each amp as well, which I do have set up. That's switchable via MIDI. You can when you program channel A or B, you can program it with it on. And there's a couple of amp models where I prefer them with the boost engaged.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, that's cool. We'll definitely talk about that because I just wanted to get to this quite soon because I think that's what people look for. Like you said, it's one of the first things you ask about with an amp, and look to try and catch it out on if it can or if it can't react to stuff like that, which it can. So we'll say no more about that for the time being. Let's just talk about then what the amp itself has out of the box, so to speak. So
yeah, out of the box, it's literally, and you use the term plug and play. You can absolutely do that. So okay, plug in channel A, set the amp, set all the settings, save it. Right, that's one sound. Channel B, go through it, do the same thing. That's your other sound. I mean, I've got two sounds programmed in, which they will be my gigging sounds when I take this out and gig.
Cool.
And it's, I've set channel B up just to be kind of a gainy but super dynamic kind of thing.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Sounds like that.
So this is channel 2. Ooh. Yeah. Yes, Ross, yes.
That's
That's a good sound right there. So
It's excited.
So what's going on there in terms of the models and stuff?
Yeah, I generally tend to go for sounds that are transparent, and you can hear the pickups.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear it if it's a single coil or if it's a humbucker.
That's exactly why I wanted to go for position 2 there, and because that's a lot of sounds just sound very flat when you start to add gain to modeling sounds in particular. Like you said, you can't really differentiate between the pickups. You can't differentiate between where the volume knob is set and how you pick and all that stuff. It does that anyway. I mean, Line 6 is very well known for that's a given now that they do that stuff well.
Yeah,
but
dynamics and clarity.
It's the degree to which it does it well, I think, is the thing. And if that is your whole vibe, just turning down on the guitar and playing with a sound without tap dancing too much, this is probably as good as Line 6 has ever been at that. Yeah, I think.
I've purposely left. You'll hear the little hum in the background.
Ah, you can get rid of that, can you?
You can get rid of that.
No one wants to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, if you're used to kind of valve amps, I don't think there's any valve amps that I can think of that don't have a certain amount of kind of mains hum. So it kind of feels like home. But yes, if you do want the benefit of digital and all the good stuff, you can turn that off. But again, with the editor, you get the...
Don't turn it off.
You get the power amp controls, you get the sag and the bias and stuff like that.
Lovely.
So it just, again, adds another layer of versatility if you want to go that deep in.
Okay, so before we talk any further about it then, can we just sort of delve into some of these effects that you've
Sure.
program there. So we heard the reverb. I don't know if you'll be able to see on the camera what we've got exactly, but 6 different switches on the Stomp XL. So what have you made them do?
I've got 5. This one was just in case we did go through Stomp as an alternative kind of drive.
Oh, okay, okay.
Just to kind of show off Stomp more than anything. It's like, yes, we've
So
just
that
set
was
it up
doing
as a
what
MIDI
this
control.
does.
That's doing what that does.
Yeah. Okay.
Or an alternative. But yeah, I guess if you had an HX Effects or an HX Stomp, or even a full Helix, and just use it as a MIDI controller with a couple of foot switches for extra kind of front-end effects, then you can do that, no problem at all.
Okay.
But I've just set this up so it's channel A, channel B, just to show it can do that. The boost function, turn the effects on and off, whatever you've saved in. I'm really boring, so I just have delay saved in.
Nothing wrong with that.
But we, you know, it's easy to access choruses and pitch shifters and stuff.
I put my foot in it earlier by talking about the amp models, but these effects are essentially taken from Helix.
If you're familiar with Helix, then you'll be familiar with these effects.
Okay.
For sure.
So I guess they'll be slightly more pronounced on the clean. Should we jump back to clean, or?
Yeah, I mean, just turn that on. And it's on the amp itself. There's just a more knob, basically. So if we crank that up. Again with the reverb, you can crank that up, super wet.
I can't quite convey how different it sounds than even using HX effects into a valve amp.
Right.
I don't know what it is. There's something, the cleanliness of digital, which I really like.
Yeah.
I guess it's not going to be quite for everybody, but it's a totally different take than if you just plug that into a clean valve amp. I think in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess there's the wonder of valve amps, and it's great, and selection and choice and everything. But you've done enough gigs with them, and I've done enough gigs with them where no 2 rooms sound the same, and that is the advantage that I found kind of, and I moved full Helix a few years ago. And the fact that it does sound the same in every room.
Yeah, it's predictable.
Yeah, I'm not spending the first, 10 minutes of sound check tweaking everything, and then it's different because obviously when the gig starts, everyone plays louder and harder, and then you're further tweaking and you don't enjoy the gig until you're 4 or 5 songs in. So yeah, the advantage of digital is, it's consistency, and I like that. But yeah, there's always the charm of a valve amp that I think for us that have used them for so long will never go away. But there's those downsides.
Charm is very quick to dissipate when you're on a gig and something doesn't work. It doesn't matter how vibey something is.
Yeah, sure.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we run through a couple of other sort of amp models as well.
Yeah.
So this is the Chime.
Okay.
So I mean, just to kind of show, I guess, some of the versatility. If I'm just guessing at these sounds, or let's put everything at 12 o'clock. Got that kind of honk that you would expect from that kind of thing, but if I crank the gain...
Sorry, just before you move on from that, can I hear it with the pedal?
Do it.
Just to see, again,
Press the
because
button.
totally different response.
That works.
But do you know, that's like a different pedal now.
Yeah.
But it still feels like it's coming from the same place
Yeah.
physically. It's a hard thing to
Well,
convey, but
and that's, I guess, the good thing, because it's a really good thing, because you change the amp model and it will respond differently to the same pedal.
yeah.
But
But it doesn't sound like, if you change on a fully digital setup, sometimes if you change to a different amp model, it's like, well, I have no reference point anymore. It's so different, which can be good. But if you're in a gig situation or something and your amp's not quite cutting, you just do that. I like that very much. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off mid-flow there.
It's all good. So I mean, if we crank the gain,
So we're still on the chime.
Still on the chime. I've got the gain cranked up, the bass down a little bit, the mid's up a little bit, treble's still at 12, and the presence down a little bit. Again, I'm guessing at this. See what it sounds like. So that's an amp cranked.
Have you ever gone on Millionaire or any of those kind of shows? Because your guesswork is pretty good.
Turn it up.
That works.
Just turn it up.
Yeah.
Moving on to
Stand up for this one.
moving on to the crunch.
Okay.
So this again is sort of super versatile. So sort of again those sort of familiar sounds. Once again, guesswork. So this is, I guess, British, but more kind of the earlier sort of British amps.
Okay.
Bit cleaner, bit fuller sounding.
Okay.
That kind of almost fuzzy kind of gain. If we crank that. And it should clean up really nicely. It's that sound, isn't it?
That's good. That is really good. So
and
if you were theoretically to put the boost on
Yes.
to that, then so how does that respond? It responds well.
Yep. So the boost is
That's nice.
is different with each amp model as well.
Sure.
And it's kind of right. Okay, which boost would fit really well with this particular kind of style sound? So it is preset, but yeah, I mean that just works.
Yeah.
Brilliantly.
That sounded like adding an extra tube in.
Yeah, kind of thing. So the next one is dynamic, and again, you know, I keep going on about the versatility, but not just the EQ, but the gain structure is powerful for every single one.
Right.
So we can go clean, Again, I've just everything at 12 o'clock with the gain sort of set a little bit lower.
That's nice, yeah. It's got the elements of the chimey sound to it.
Yeah, it's, I guess, arguably kind of scooped sounding, but it's got kind of, it's got shimmer and sparkle to the tone, but some girth. So if I actually crank that gain, some mids, bit of treble, bring the presence back, that should be kind of quite beefy. And you subconsciously did what I was going to say. It responds really well to pick attack.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
And it just there's sort of a particular tonality that comes out of a valve amp when you cranked it, and it's this fizziness in a very pleasant way. It's like it sits behind the note. Bad amps, the fizziness sits on top of the note.
Sure.
Whereas good fizz is behind it, and that's got it just on that first chord.
I don't know what you mean, that fizziness kind of disappears if you've got keyboards and kind of hides underneath the cymbals and everything, but it helps cut through.
Yeah,
for sure.
Very impressive.
And then...
There's no insane mode anymore.
No.
That's the only sad thing, I think.
Well, the insane was kind of part of the spider range.
Fair enough.
And this is just called high gain, and it's got all of the gain that you would ever need. So this is on like 2.5. It's pretty fierce.
Okay.
So I cranked the gain up to like halfway there. The boost on this is kind of, I guess, the boost that you would expect for that kind of amp. So it shaves.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that now sounds like that. And that's with no boost, like actually the boost's on, gain, but no gain. So if you just give that a little bit more. And it feeds back readily. Now, so that's noisy. There is a noise gate in there if you so desire.
Very easy to play.
Oh yeah.
But not at the detriment of it sounding good. That's always the horrible trade-off you make. If you want an easy sound to play with tons of gain, for example, great, but it's probably not going to sound very good.
Yeah, and that's something that I really love about this. It's that balance of having gain and compression, so it's easy, but that it's not overpowering. I mean, that's way more gain than I would ever use. But that sort of channel B that I set up, that's plenty of gain to play lead with.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you do need that little bit more, then again, you've got the boost. So, yeah, just all in all, it's really nice.
It genuinely is. I mean, there will be plenty of other great videos out there that will be more comprehensive than probably what we're going to do today. But honestly, that is very impressive.
Yeah.
Just to sit next to. I mean, you said you haven't really played this sort of in anger yet, so I guess this is maybe one of the first times you've cranked this louder than home volumes. And I mean, what do you think? How does it compare to?
Killer. I'm really excited to kind of put this next to my drummer, who does not play light.
Drummers are awful people. But no, I would like to hear that in a band context as well.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is as well that there's a power scaling feature on the back, so it takes it down to nothing.
Could we just hear that?
Yeah,
quickly?
absolutely. And it's designed. So I mean, if we kind of get
if I start at full 100 watts, by the way.
100 watts. So there's 3 models. There's a 60 watt and 100 watt, both 112, and then a 200 watt 212.
Okay.
If you need that wattage, but I mean, I think and by the way, this is not going to come across on camera, but it's loud in the room, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not definitely so.
We're on like 3 on the master volume.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot of room to go.
Okay. Well, maybe if I play and you can notch the power down, just because I guess it's about the response more than the actual volume.
Yeah, and it's designed to kind of attempt to eliminate that Fletcher-Munson curve as well. So to keep the sound that you've got at volume, but at a lower volume. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That is.
Yeah.
That is good.
There's an amount of sound that's coming from the speaker working for sure, but yeah, the general tone.
I think if you've ever been skeptical of this type of thing before, be skeptical no more. Just try it at least.
Yeah.
Do genuinely try. I think this is. I don't know. I've got to spend more time with it, I suppose, but this is the first of a generation of this type of thing, I would say, that sounds like that.
Yeah,
it responds like that.
It's the first amp that I've kind of played, first kind of, I guess, modeling amp that I've played that I would use because it's that simplicity of, well, I don't need a million different sounds. I want to use a couple of pedals because I like gain pedals.
Yeah, familiarity and...
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want 2 sounds. One clean, one kind of hairy, but not overpoweringly hairy, and then a couple of different flavors of boost for that. And yeah, I mean, well, there's a thing. So on the clean channel with the boost,
yep.
So that kind of gives you that little bit of hair. Boutique model as well, that boost gives you even more girth. I mean, it's kind of a beefy sound anyway, but clear. But if I switch the boost on for that, And that's definitely the kind of boost that I would use for that sound. So it's,
Yeah.
oh, it's time to play lots of notes and not impress anyone. But
No, never.
just really thicken it
Yeah,
up.
lovely sound.
Yeah. It's
I
just fun.
don't know what else I can say about it, to be honest with you. I would just implore people to check it out because very genuinely impressive.
Yeah. And the thing we've not talked about,
Go on.
so there is a mode in this. So it's got an effects loop, if you want that. I would say full MIDI and the power scaling thing. But it does have a mode where if you have a modeler, whatever modeler that is, you can use this just as a power amp and a speaker for that.
Okay.
And it's got a mode for specifically for amplifying modelers.
So kind of into power cab.
Yeah.
territory. Not, I guess, not exactly the same, but.
No, very different thing. Power cabs are just to amplify a modeler or a preamp rig. And obviously when you get into the pluses, then you get all the different options of IR loading and different speaker modes and so on and so forth. This is definitely just kind of, right, okay, I need a power amp and a speaker, but don't necessarily want to carry around a power amp and a speaker.
Yeah.
And I need it to sound more like a real amp than... And that's something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand, going from a valve amp analog-based pedalboard to full modeling with FR.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's not the amp in the room, and that's what some people expect. It's what you would hear if you plugged it into an amp and you were in a control room, or the amp was in an ISO cab or something, you're having it coming back through a wedge. It's the full signal change, the amp and the cab and the microphone and all of that. So this is sort of, you turn the cabinet off and the mic simulation and all that on whatever model you're using, and you just have a power amp and a cab. But it's in a nice, kind of very lightweight kind of portable package.
That could be a part 2, I reckon.
Yeah,
We
sure.
could come on to that at some point. I'd like to hear that. But just as an amp that's presumably not very expensive, very light, looks decent, takes pedals really well, has a bunch of sounds that are all usable, really easily controllable. I don't think I'm missing much. That's a good way to go.
Yeah.
I think that is a good way to go.
And it's, like I said, I suppose bringing it back to the whole kind of concept of, it's just plug in, choose what you want on channel A and B. If you want an effect on there, great. If you just want great sounds, then fine. And maybe a boost pedal, if you so desire.
Indeed. Well, I know that at least one person will disagree with everything that either of us have said. So if that's you, do let us know in the comments down below. But equally, if you are as impressed as I am, and you really like this and you want to find out more, all the information will be on our website, peachguitars.com, linked in the description below. But let us know your thoughts in the comments, because I think hopefully it will come across just how good this thing sounds. And hopefully we'll get to do some more stuff with it in the future. But until then, thank you, Ross, for bringing this by.
Thank you for having me.
And explaining it all. I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. Let us know if that's you in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.